What's going on, everybody? Hopefully, you guys can hear me. I don't know if this audio is working any better than the audio has in the past, but what's going on, everybody? I'm Robert. I'm the host of Bridging the Geekdoms. And on this Friday afternoon, as I'm driving home, I figured I'd talk about some news that has dropped over the past couple days, some interesting tidbits. First off, we have the casting announcement. Well, not so much casting announcement, but the addition of Doctor Strange in the upcoming Spider-Man 3 from Marvel Studios and Sony Pictures. What was it, last week? We got the information or the news, or was it earlier this week? I can't even follow it anymore. So much news has been falling that Jamie Foxx will be reprising his role as Electro in the MCU Spider-Man universe. Very interesting thing to happen there because he wasn't from the MCU. He was from the Amazing Spider-Man films and was not supposed to be, at least we thought he wasn't supposed to be part of the MCU, and now he's going to be. So that is an interesting development. But now, Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch himself, will be in Spider-Man 3. It's interesting because we've been discussing for quite some time. If you follow my Twitter or if you follow the show, ever since the next Doctor Strange movie was announced in the Multiverse of Madness, we've been discussing the idea of a multiverse within the MCU and what that could mean. We know that Sony for quite some time has wanted to build out their universe, creating a mini Spider-Man universe of their own for quite some time. This could be the way that they are doing it. Very interesting thought is that by introducing Doctor Strange into the Spider-Man movie, it could end up being that that is the segue to the multiverse of Spider-Man, of all the Spider-Man films, as well as quite possibly the X-Men films, the Fantastic Four universes, all of that. So it's going to be intriguing to see how they handle Doctor Strange being there. Now, and something to think about is the Doctor Strange movie is due to go in production very soon, as is Tom Holland's Spider-Man 3. So what does that mean for how much time Doctor Strange is going to be in the movie? A lot of people want to sit there and say, hey, we're sick of the whole mentor role that Peter's gotten in the MCU with Tony Stark. Well, first off, let's lay this out here. Spider-Man Homecoming was really the only one where he had a mentor. Let's remember that. Yes, Tony was a big part of Far From Home. He was suffering, and Peter was suffering from the loss of a father figure once again. And that movie was all about him coming into his own. Kind of makes sense, the progression. You know, you have your mentor in the first movie. By the time the second one rolls around, your mentor is gone. You have to come into your own. So I don't look at Doctor Strange playing that mentor role. He's taking the place that Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury held in Far From Home and what Tony Stark held, Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark held in Homecoming, which was essentially an MCU character being in the Spider-Man Sony universe. That's all it is. So when you see reports or these scoopers or other journalists sitting there saying enough is enough with the mentorship of Peter Parker, they're not getting the facts straight, because that's not what Doctor Strange is going to be. Peter is his own man at this point. But not only does he have to fight bad guys, not only does he have to juggle being a teenager and Spider-Man, but now there is the unfortunate revelation of Peter Parker being Spider-Man and that information being out there in the open world. So it's going to be interesting. Let's see how this plays out. A lot of people are speculating that either Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is going to show up, if not both, one of which may don the Spider-Man attire to ward off any threat that Peter Parker may have from higher authority figures or villains, essentially. So for me, I'm excited to see what happens in that movie. Excited to see Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange as well being Natalie Portman, staying in the MCU. Natalie Portman recently, who is going to be the star of the upcoming Thor: Love and Thunder. She plays Jane Foster in the MCU. Hasn't been seen in a large role since Thor 2. She kind of revealed that the story of the upcoming Thor: Love and Thunder will be that Jane Foster is suffering from cancer, going through cancer treatments while juggling being a superhero. Now, if they follow the storyline from the comics, if I'm not mistaken, when she does that in the comics, she has cancer, she's being the god of thunder, Thor. Every time she utilizes those powers, it actually speeds up the cancer and lessens her likelihood of surviving and beating cancer. That's a kind of a big revelation. I mean, a lot of people speculated that that was the route that they were going to go, but it's very interesting to see that that is what they're doing. Sure, Taika Waititi is not pleased that Natalie revealed this. Of course, maybe it was something that they said, look, if they ask, this is what you can say. Perhaps that's all it is, and that was the plan from the very beginning, that she was going to reveal in some interview down the line what the story was. But to me, it just seems like she gave away a little too much. Obviously, probably what she revealed is what would be seen in the very first trailer. Once we get that, of course, production hasn't even begun yet. Reports today are actually that she's only recently started working out for the role, for the film, for production. So we'll see where that goes, for sure. So if you're excited about Love and Thunder or Doctor Strange being in Spider-Man 3, absolutely comment below. Find me on Twitter. Whatever, just let us know and show your excitement, what your expectations are, what you think is going to happen, because I want to hear it. I'm sure everybody else wants to. Moving on, there's some big news that dropped actually last night. Microsoft, as they're ramping up and are merely 30 days away, I believe, maybe a few days less than that, from the release of their Xbox Series X and their Xbox Series S systems, they revealed yesterday that they and GameStop have partnered up. Now, GameStop has been on their last leg for quite some time. I honestly didn't think that they would last this long. A couple years ago, we started to see them when they bought ThinkGeek, and they were starting to change all their stores to being more merchandise-driven as opposed to video game-driven. I really did not think that their businesses would stay open much longer, and they have it. They've closed so many stores down, but that's partially their fault. I remember when I worked at GameStop a number of years ago, the GameStop I worked at, literally, and this is not an exaggeration, within a 4-mile radius, there were a total of 4 GameStops, one of which was less than a mile down the road from us, which they opened after the one that I was at. Made no freaking sense. Like, there's really no reason for that. So their business, the way that they were handled for a number of years, was just absolutely ridiculous. There's no reason that there should have been as many stores open as there were, and it was undoubtedly going to hurt them in the long run. Obviously, all those stores have closed with the exception of 2 of them out there. I believe there's still 2 available or opened up out there. I haven't been there in quite some time. But it's one of those things that GameStop cannot survive staying open with the current direction that video games and video game consoles are moving. They're moving to a digital age. When you go to that digital age, that means no more physical copies of your video games. I've been saying this for a number of years. If you listen back to a lot of our older episodes, Colton and I would sit there and discuss a lot of different things, especially the transition that this generation, this 9th generation of video game consoles, would be the transition year, or transition generation, I should say, into an all digital format. Starting with the 10th generation, you will no longer see physical video game discs being sold. You're just not going to. It's not feasible anymore. It's not needed anymore. With the speed of internet as high as it is, with the storage devices, solid state drives being as affordable as they are now for a disc, especially since most of the time anymore that you get hardly have any information on there, and it's pulling it from the cloud and from the servers, the information for the game as is. So how was GameStop going to survive? It's a good question. Insert Microsoft. Now, the complete details of the partnership are unclear. They haven't revealed everything. But the one thing that they have, are a couple Microsoft products going to be used to help the customer experience. Microsoft Surface is being utilized in their store. I'm sure that they're going to have Microsoft-based systems and everything like that. I'm sure they'll have special Xbox deals and maybe even computer and PC things going on. That's all a possibility. But we know that Microsoft products such as Surfaces and such will be utilized to help better the customer experience. Another interesting bit that I was completely shocked to hear was that GameStop would benefit from the All Access plan. They would actually receive a portion of those who subscribe to the All Access plan. Now, Xbox All Access, for those of you who don't know, is a plan where you can sit down, or not sit down, but you can go to GameStop, you can sit down at your computer as well and order it, and you can essentially finance an Xbox console for 2 years. So you pay a low monthly rate every month, obviously monthly rate, for 2 years. What that does include is not just the console itself, but a subscription to Xbox Live and Xbox Live Game Pass. It is a hell of a deal. You know, especially for those who don't want to go drop, $300, $400, $500 on a console in one fell swoop. That is an absolute bargain where you do save money. I mean, Xbox Game Pass is $15 a month as is. So you add that plus the video game console costs, you're saving a couple $100 when you do this. It's brilliant on Xbox. And I think this generation is really going to see a boost in utilization of the Xbox All Access, especially since you can get these new consoles on that plan. It's brilliant. And a lot of people are wondering, how do you get approved, blah, blah, blah. From what I understand, if you're able to get approved for a cell phone, you're going to be able to get approved for the Xbox All Access. So there's always that. So they're going to get some profits. GameStop is going to get some profits from this All Access. And we know that that's not all it's going to be. We know that there's definitely going to be more there with the deal that we are not aware of yet. This is a fantastic opportunity for GameStop. It's a great way for them to journey into the next generation and the upcoming generations of video gaming. The one thing that I think is interesting about this is Sony, ever since Microsoft announced their deal in buying Bethesda, Sony has done almost nothing to counteract that. Now, some people will say they don't have to. You're not wrong. Sony has a plethora of single-A exclusive titles that are coming to the PlayStation 5. Their systems are going to sell. You know, Sony is a reputable company. The PlayStation has been around since the mid-90s. People are going to buy it regardless. But Microsoft, holy shit, they have put themselves on the map big time the past, really, I want to think about it, in the last month. Between Bethesda and this GameStop thing. GameStop is not going to stop selling PlayStation games. They're not going to stop selling Nintendo games. They're not going to stop supporting those systems. But you can sure as hell be guaranteed that we're going to see a lot more Microsoft push and Xbox pushes from the retailer. Again, it's genius. I don't know why no one thought of it before. I'm interested to see what happens. It's just a partnership. It's not like Microsoft bought GameStop. It's not like GameStop bought Microsoft, anything like that. It is just a partnership. So a deal can be broken at any given time, I'm sure. I'm sure there's some stipulations, but it's going to be interesting to see how it benefits each party moving forward. I'm excited about it. I know a lot of other people who are excited about it, who are big Xbox fans. So let us know what you think. Go down to the comments. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit up Colton on Twitter, our head video game guy. White Ruby 53 on Twitter for Polygon Warriors. Hit him up and say, yo, how about this GameStop stuff? He wrote a really nice short article over at spoilerverse.com that explains everything that I just talked about. So go check that out. Spoilerverse.com is where you're going to find all Virgin the Geekdoms, all Shooting the Sith. I don't know if you've noticed, but we do have a Shooting the Sith channel, kind of channel down here on Virgin the Geekdoms now. I was going to create its own, or I did actually create its own YouTube channel for a bit, but trying to run two channels, just a little tough. So I'm going to run both Virgin the Geekdoms and Shooting the Sith off of this YouTube channel here, but Shooting the Sith will have its own podcast feed. So make sure, if you are someone that just prefers audio, that you jump over to Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, all those things. Search Bridging the Geekdom, subscribe. Search Shooting the Sith for all your Star Wars needs, and subscribe. So thanks, guys, for listening. This is just some Friday thoughts on what's transpired over the past couple days. I'm sure more is going to come out. We did just hear some news about the Green Lantern show for HBO Max getting Seth Grahame-Smith and not Berlanti, but Mark Guggenheim as writers for the show. Grahame-Smith will be show running the show. Now it is going to be a limited series for HBO Max. Also, my boy Taylor Murphy over at the Culture Nerd last night on the Lightcast podcast dropped some tea for all of us, telling us and informing us that the Snyderverse is fully on over at HBO Max, meaning Zack Snyder will get to complete his 5-story arc that he was intending to finish, which he started with Man of Steel. But with all that said, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Let me know what you think. Sorry about the audio. I'm trying to figure out different ways to make the audio better. Just let me know what you think. If you have any ideas or options, tell me what I could do for the audio, because I really like doing this driving home, talking to everybody, get my thoughts out there. It's a nice, easy way to do it. So with that said, thanks, and I will talk to you next week.